In today's ultra-competitive business world, being a successful entrepreneur or business owner can be very challenging. Fortunately, contemporary times have blessed us with resources for tackling those challenges and getting us to success more quickly than we could have imagined. Welcome to The Root of All Success with the Real Jason Duncan, a podcast that explores how the world's most powerful entrepreneurs grow incredible companies. This podcast looks at the 5 keys to unlocking success as an entrepreneur. A successful educator turned entrepreneur, Jason's mission is to use his gifts of teaching and leadership to help others get the results they want out of life. Join Jason every week and learn the keys to grow a truly successful business.
Hey there, I'm the Real Jason Duncan, and welcome to the Root of All Success podcast. We got a great episode for you today. You guys are going to love it. For those of you that are listening on a podcast player, of course, you can find this in any of the podcast players, Stitcher, in that stuff, Stitcher. I listen to podcasts on Stitcher, but iTunes, any of those places, you can find that. But you know what you really ought to do is go look this up on YouTube, because we filmed this. This is filmed live and in person at the Standard at the Smith House in Nashville, Tennessee. The Standard is 18,000 square feet of Southern sophistication and style right here in the heart of downtown Nashville, one of the oldest antebellum homes still standing here in Nashville, owned by the one and only Joshua Sterling Smith. I'm a member here, and my guest today is also a member here, and I'm blessed that Josh allows me to record the podcast here. So today, we're here with our guests. We're smoking some Guidance cigars, which you're going to learn about in a few minutes. We're also drinking some Guidance whiskey, which you're going to learn about. But that's what we do here at the Standard. So if you ever come to Nashville, you need to look up me, the Real Jason Duncan, and hit me up, and we'll try to get together, have a little meet up here at the Standard. But it's a fantastic place. So if you're not watching this on the video, you should go check it out. Go to youtube.com/the Real Jason Duncan. So look me up on YouTube at the Real Jason Duncan, and you can find this episode there. So let me talk about today's sponsor for this episode. Now, this sponsor today is Guidance Whiskey, and we're going to be talking to the proprietor, the guy who started it, whose brainchild it is, the guy who started this brand that's just taken Nashville by storm and will soon take the country by storm. But Guidance Whiskey is a unique blend of corn and rye with a touch of malted barley. It's a fantastic whiskey, and of course, I'm holding the glass up to the camera right now for those of you watching. It's a fantastic whiskey. It's actually become the house whiskey here at the Standard. I love it. For when I'm drinking whiskey at the Standard, this is the whiskey I choose. It's aged for 2 years, and it's a premium small batch whiskey that our guests will talk a little bit more about here in a few minutes. And it's inspired by whiskey culture and motivated by a deep concept of family. And the guy that you're going to talk to today and hear from is you'll hear his connection to family and community. And when he named it, Guidance just made sense. So we're going to talk about what that means in a minute. But Guidance Whiskey, it's more than whiskey. It's a lifestyle. And we're going to talk about the guy who came up with this here in just a minute. So here's my guest. He's a true entrepreneur. Right out of college, he started his first company at the age of 23. And then after he worked as a probation officer for a little while, he realized there was a need for a change. And every business that he started since then, he wanted to address a specific problem. He wanted to fix things, and he wanted to make the world a better place. So there is a wake that follows this guy everywhere he goes, and this wake of goodness behind him. And if you follow him on Instagram or any socials, you'll see that he's always trying to pour back into, and he wants to support Black-owned businesses. He wants to do good things for the community. He's even started a nonprofit called Hydrate the Hood, where he provides these alkaline water bottles. I'll let him tell you a bit more about it, to underserved communities here in the Nashville area and then eventually around the world. So with all that being said, I am the Real Jason Duncan. This is the best Jason in the world. This is Jason Ridgel, my friend and fellow member of the Standard here today, the owner of Guidance Whiskey. Cheers, my brother. Thank you for being here. Well, tell us about the name Guidance. Let's kind of start there, because I love Guidance Whiskey. And when you and I met here and we were talking about it the first time, I'm like, what is it? And then you were talking about the name. I'm like, oh, okay. So tell us about the name.
I think like what you said in your open, the name makes sense, but it's a nod to our ancestors, and it's also a nod to people in our everyday lives that give us guidance, that help us along the way. If you talk about the whiskey industry, we're not the first and we won't be the last. So there's so many lessons that we can learn from the proprietors and the whiskey makers and the bourbon makers that came before us. So it's a nod to the past and a nod to the future at the same time.
That's right. I like it. And it was funny. I was at the bar the other night down here at the club, and you weren't here, but there was a guy here who was not familiar with the club. He wasn't my guest. But he was a guest of someone else, and we happened to be standing there ordering drinks at the same time. And he said something about whiskey, and I didn't know he didn't know. I didn't know. Right? I said, "You want some guidance?" And he looked at me like I was asking for some advice.
You're a guidance counselor?
I'm a guidance counselor.
It's like, how much
is that
you
what
charge?
your salespeople are called? The guidance counselors? That's what that means.
Actually, you know what? There's actually a drink coming out called the guidance counselor.
Oh.
It's going to be at a local place here called PH Cocktail Bar. They're announcing it next week.
That is great. I love it. So the guidance counselor, that's good. So guidance name, I love the guidance name, but here's another thing I want you to tell everybody, because we got lots of people who listen to this podcast who are entrepreneurs that start things, want to do things, grow things, build things. And when you started Guidance Whiskey, like, it wasn't going to be whiskey at first. Do you want to tell that story?
Yeah. So I was actually going to do a sake first. Sake. I was living in California. I was marketing director for a healthcare facility. And we were doing thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars on entertainment, right? And most of that the budget was alcohol. So we're spending all this money on alcohol, entertaining doctors, and we're ordering the most craziest things. We're doing sake nights, all this stuff, and I was like, there's a market there, and I can be the first Black man to have a sake. Just think about that for a second, right? Black owned sake. That's history book stuff. But as I told you, unfortunately, my friend was a wine broker, sent me about 25 different sakes to try. And it just wasn't something I could drink every day. Just coming in the house, hey honey, fix me a sake.
Well, I remember you telling that story the first time I heard you tell it. You're like, yeah, I wanted to make sure we made something that my friends like to drink. And every time we come over and try sake, we'd all go, oh, this is terrible.
We couldn't do it, man. We couldn't do it. But, we're circling back to it. Because if you're an entrepreneur, you know this, some things that are on your mind, they're not for now, they're for later, but all those babies you want to birth. You know what I mean? So I put it on the back, and now that I've been in the game about almost 3 years, now I know exactly how to do it and to make it in a way that I would actually like. So,
well, I've been to Japan. I've had sake, and I don't like sake, but I know lots of people love it, and that's their drink, man. So,
because we haven't made it yet.
Whiskey, sake. Well, they rhyme.
Yeah,
so I think that'll work.
Waki, maybe.
So whiskey.
That's a brand. That's a branding. A branding.
You need to get your branding guidance counselors to work on that. So let's talk a little bit about guidance again, because they are the sponsor of this episode, and so let's sell it a little bit. Like, tell us a little bit about it, what it is, where people can buy it. If they're listening to this and they're in another part of the world that doesn't provide it, like, how can they get access to it? How do they find you?
Yeah, I mean, we are a premium small batch craft whiskey. We kind of went against all the rules of blending and coming out being small batch craft. We're 80 proof, and we are the smoothest whiskey that you'll ever taste. We have such full flavor on the front end because I never wanted to sacrifice flavor. That's when I'm drinking myself. I want full flavor. What I didn't want is that burn. Mm-hmm. The older you get, the harder it gets to take that down. So we did the work. We worked on the formula maybe a year with a contract distillery out of Iowa. We only get the best corn, the best water, and we didn't pidge on anything, from the bottle to the label, even to our tops. Like, you'll be able to tell that everything is craftsman, everything is upscale. I mean, we did our homework for it.
Well, I could tell you this, and I'm not blowing smoke, even though I am smoking a guidance cigar. I really do believe that it is one of the best just sipping good small batch whiskeys I've ever had. I think that there's a little bit of for me, I pick up a little sweet notes, and it's not sweet, but for me, I could pick that up, and I like that because I'm a rum drinker. Like if I had to choose anything, rum and whiskey are the two things. Rum, bourbon, rum, whiskey. Those are the two things I choose to go back and forth on, and that just lends itself to I love the little sweet stuff. So if anybody's listening and you guys like whiskey or bourbon at all, you got to try Guidance, and it's a good sipping whiskey. You can drink it neat. It's good. You can drink it on ice. I wouldn't recommend mixing it with Coke because I think it. Like,
we will
taste
if you mix it with Coke, we might show up at your house.
Don't do that.
And bring you something else to mix with.
Bring some sake. Sake and Coke. Do they do that?
No.
I don't think they do
That's
that.
Not yet.
Well, let's talk about success, man. You've had a lot of success, and what's interesting to me is that my introduction to you here in Nashville. I didn't really know what you did, and we met, and we didn't talk business. And then later, I found out, oh, he's the whiskey guy. He's doing Guidance, but I didn't know you did all the other stuff. And I was like, then that became even more impressive. I was even more impressive with the best Jason in the world. So tell us a little bit about all the other things that you've done, and we'll leave Hydrate the Hood kind of as an aside. Just your for-profit businesses. Tell us about those.
Yeah, man. Well, I've been in the medical device industry for almost 10 years now. And like that's considered my day job. Mm-hmm. You know, I still call it my day job because I actually still do it. And most entrepreneurs, sometimes that's what you run into. Like you'll find the thing that you do that's work, that you get so good at it that is not work. And it generates funds that you can use to fund your passion projects and stuff. But it was actually that business that led me to whiskey, right? So we were doing all the tastings and entertaining doctors. Pain management was the thing that started that business for me. I was working for a chiropractor's office, and we were trying to give people alternatives to opioids. Mm-hmm. We don't talk about it that much anymore. Funny. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's not a problem anymore.
Right. It's like all of a sudden it goes away, but no, it doesn't. And we were trying to help people with pain without using pills. And I saw an opening to start a business where we could do that and where it didn't take stuff out of people's pockets. So we get qualified with your insurance, and your insurance company pays for it. Yeah.
And so you started a company around that?
Yep. I started Just Go Medical. It was my first, and Just Go was short for Justin and Colin, which are my sons. The funniest thing is that my youngest comes to me after I tell him the name, and I'm so excited. I'm showing the logo, and my youngest comes up to me and says, "Dad, shouldn't it be Just Call?" So it's 3 letters from Justin's name and 3 letters from mine. I was like, "You the little brother, you get 2 letters." So we Just Call.
How old is he?
Well, now he's 16.
Oh, but when you started it, how old?
6 years old.
Oh my gosh! So 10 years you've been doing that.
10 years, man.
Holy crap!
I don't look a day over 28. I know.
So when you do, businesses don't survive that long. They don't. Like people don't. Just entrepreneurs who do startups generally don't survive 10 years. Why did you survive 10 years? Just in that one business. Yeah.
So that adaptability. Adaptability is because that industry has changed almost every year that I was in it. Because the rules changed. So you're dealing with insurance companies. So they're changing. They're growing from different presidents. From Medicare prices, all that stuff goes up and down. So we pretty much have to adapt every year with a game plan for that year that will sustain us through that year. Mm-hmm. And I learned that in the first year when I made 0.
Every entrepreneur out there listening knows what that feels like.
Yeah, that first 0 year that had me in my mom's office crying, like, you know, because I got a college degree, and I was there, and I was like, "Mom, I have to just dust off this degree and go and get a job." And she held a vision for me, because my mom actually used to work for United Healthcare. She retired from there, and so going into that medical industry, she knew how it worked. So when I told her the plan, she was like, "Oh, this will work." I was 6 months in, hadn't made 1 red cent because the insurances hadn't reimbursed us yet. So I'm out all this money in products, all this money in marketing, and I'm hearing it might be 90 days before you see your first check. And I went to my mom's office in Alabama, and I was like, "Mom, because I got a family at this time. So it's not, you can only go so far, right? And Pops used to always say, if your hustle don't make more than your day job, keep your day job. So, and so I'm sitting there and she goes, no, this is going to work. This was November. And in December, we received our first check. It had been 6 months.
Holy moly.
During that whole process. And I literally at the beginning of November was going to quit, go find a job and just maybe try this again later.
So how did you survive those 6 months without any income?
I had my savings.
So you had built up savings from doing your other day job, right?
Yep. I guess what it was.
I don't know.
Massage therapy.
Oh my
gosh.
So you walk in that room, you take your robe off, you lay down, and Jason walks in. Whoa, I'm going to get a deep tissue massage.
The deepest you ever got, man. Like, look, that was the thing. That was actually something I wanted to do before I went to college. I wanted to learn massage therapy. I go to my mom, I'm like, hey, Mom, I want to learn massage. Because I wanted to come to college with a hustle.
Uh-huh.
I knew that was one of the times in your life where you're going to be around the more people in a confined space than you'll ever be ever again in your life.
Yeah.
So if you knew how to cut hair, if you knew girls knew how to do nails, if you came to school with a hustle, you had 10,000 people right there that could become your customers. So I was like, Mom, I'm going to go learn massage therapy and, take a year, learn massage therapy and then go to college. And she was like, yeah, right. You're going to go to school first and then you can go do whatever you want.
Well, I tell you, listen, if you are a college student or a high school senior listening to this podcast, first of all, congratulations for being interested in listening to stuff like this to help you get better. But listen to that little nugget of wisdom that Jason just gave us. Go get you something that you can do because you're about to go into a college system. If you go to college at all, you're going to go to college and there's going to be thousands of people that might need your services and you can make everything you need to make. So massage therapy helped you make it those 6 months, the savings you had from massage therapy. So you made it the 6 months and then the money starts rolling in. So now there are other companies that you founded and own and operate. So tell us a little bit about those others.
Yeah, so we moved on from there to Aubrey Medical Group, which is the platform that we're on now. And I've been back in Nashville, I think, about 5 years. And by the end of this year, we'll have more medical device contracts than any other DME provider in the state.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. When did you start that?
We started the process about 3.5 years ago. Man.
So 3.5 years to being the biggest person in your pond in the state. That's pretty good. Yeah. What else you got going on?
Well, we got that. We got medical. We got whiskey. You
got fashion somewhere in there.
Yeah,
too,
somewhere
right?
in there. Just.
Yeah, for those of you watching this on YouTube, you got to look really closely. This dude is really sharp. He always is branded out, man. And I still need a hat. I don't have a hat, but I got to get a hat because I love the hat.
But we have Culture World and culture with a K, and really, man, that came from me always wanting to wear my own clothes. Growing up, I didn't get name brand anything. I think one year for Christmas, I got some Nike Huaraches, and that was my whole Christmas. It wasn't wrapped in a bow. It wasn't. You didn't even get underwear after that. It was like, this is what you're getting. This is your whole entire Christmas. And so I grew up really not being into brands. I never got, attracted to, this is a this is a that. I always wanted my own. So I started printing my own T-shirts, printing my own hats, printing my own bracelets. And if you're an entrepreneur, that is you are your biggest billboard, ever. So I started out wearing different stuff with different sayings, and people were like, oh, I want to buy that, I want to buy that. I'm like, do you really? Okay. So end up making a website, putting it on there, and now we help other brands do the same thing. So we take guys that maybe have ideas and we'll actually print their shirts and put it on our site and then give them the commission. And the only thing that we charge them is 10%. And that 10% is because that goes to charity.
Man, so is that an opportunity for somebody listening that's doing something in the clothing space to holler at you?
Yeah, for sure.
How would they get in touch with you? We're going to do this at the end too, but let's do it now. How could they get in touch with you?
You can go to my Instagram, DM. We're checking that all the time, and it's the best Jason in the world. And you can just light us up.
Yeah, so the best Jason in the world. So you can look at him on Instagram, send him a direct message, and hook up with him, and he can help you if you got a clothing thing that you're trying to work out.
Or any type of merchandise. It doesn't matter. We can.
So it's merch all together.
Merch all together.
Nice. So hats too.
Yes.
I want a hat.
Hats
man.
with Jason on the back of them and everything.
There you go. All right, cool. So you got it's Justco, all right? You got Aubrey Medical Group. OMG. You got and it's Culture. Is that what
Culture with a K.
Culture with a K. What else? And of course, we talked about the whiskey, of course. So Guidance Whiskey. Anything else?
And now we got HTH.
All right. So let's talk about Hydrate the Hood. Let's talk about
Hydrate the Hood, man. This is near and dear to my heart. Being in that medical equipment world, you come across all kinds of vendors and stuff like that. I don't even know how many years ago it's been now, but met these guys from Sweden who actually created this cup. And in California at the time, everybody was using these Kenyan water systems where they were like Alkaline was becoming super, super big, but those systems were $5,000 to put into your home.
Yeah.
So the story goes that the inventor of the cup was approached by a salesman for a in-home alkaline water system. And he gets to the end of the meeting and he tells the guy, I love it. Like it makes sense to me. It'll make me healthy, my family healthy. But why does it have to cost $5,000? And the salesman didn't have a really good answer for him. And he said, you know what, thank you, I appreciate it. And I'll go make my own. And he set out to invent these cups. And it's really ingenious. They line the cups with the minerals that actually alkalize water. And they help with anything from diabetes, blood pressure, even like skin spots and stuff. Why? Because it helps balance your body out. That's it. Your body can fight off most diseases on its own, and it can keep you healthy on its own. We impact our life with sugar and salt more than anything. I got the technology from them, and we started pushing these cups out in LA, and they were going to gyms and stuff like that. Well, during that time, I was doing mission trips to Africa and Mexico, and these guys, they came back to me and said, hey, look, we've seen what you've been doing out in the world. We don't want to charge you anything else for these cups. We'll give you the technology completely. All we ask is that you continue to donate to charity. I was almost in tears on the phone, right? Like, because that's a huge responsibility, right? For someone to say, look, we've watched you, we saw what you're doing, we want to continue that. Here, run with it. And I beat my head up for a long time to figure out how am I going to, we continue to give to charity, just giving money and stuff. And then we came up with Hydrate the Hood, which was for every one of these cups that are purchased, we're actually going to go and give one to someone in an underserved community. Now, what I didn't know is what that was going to grow into, because to go into the community, you have to actually be a part of that community. So going into some of the projects here just in Nashville, we didn't know the people there. And if anybody knows, you don't just walk down the street in the middle of the projects. I don't care what you're giving out.
Right.
So it made us connect with the leaders in those communities, in the projects. We educated them on the product, and we let them do this dispersion, and we go with them. So
Smart.
It's forcing us. So people are able, whatever hood you care about, doesn't matter. We can go and help you assist with that. But we never just go into somewhere assuming that we have the answer for that place. We talk to the people that run it.
So with this, for the people that are not watching this on YouTube, they can't see the cup. So the cup is it's a white plastic. I guess it's some sort of plastic, right?
Actually, the only thing plastic is the top. The cup is actually made out of corn husk. It's all organic.
No kidding. So it's a white. It looks plastic from here. It's got a plastic feel, but it's made of corn husk. The top is plastic, and it's about what 8 or 9 inches tall. So it could fit in a cup holder in a car.
It's perfect for the cup holder.
Yeah.
To make sure that it's
Yeah. So it fits in a cup holder, and so it's lined with some kind of technology that alkalizes the water. And so if you want to buy one, where would you go get one of those?
You go to hydratethehood.com.
Hydratethehood.com. And how much is one of those cups? Right?
$40.
$40 for a cup. It's better than the $5,000 Kagan system, right?
And it lasts 2 years. That's the other thing too. Yeah.
Nice. And fully recyclable and biodegradable because it's made of corn husks.
And if you put some water in that and you want to use that water for your whiskey,
oh! So for those of you who mix water in your whiskey, you got to do alkaline water in your whiskey. Nice. And so how do we know there's water in that cup and not whiskey? No, he's got a whiskey glass. He doesn't need to hide it. He's good.
I'm double fisted, right?
He's a whiskey proprietor. Hey, we didn't talk about the cigars. You want to talk about Guidance cigars? Because I'm smoking one right now, and you've let yours go out. But like we are smoking the Guidance cigars. What's the deal with these?
Man, this was a part of our collab season, man. And we are partnering with as many local businesses, minority businesses, businesses that we can find. And this was made by Southern Gentleman Cigars and a good friend of ours, good friends of ours, Stu and Brett, who came to me months ago kind of admiring the whiskey and said, hey, man, have you ever thought about having your own cigars? And I was like, of course I have, but not really. You never want to say, They took my whiskey. I gave them a few bottles of whiskey. 2 months later, they came back and was like, here. I'm like, so what is this? These are your cigars. They had fermented cigars in Guidance barrels and brought them back. And these are the smoothest smoking cigars. I used to only smoke cigars, maybe once a quarter. Occasionally. I'm like at least once a week now, just because it's good.
Well, I can tell you the one of my favorite cigars ever in history was a cigar that I'm not going to do the name brand because I don't want to give them credit, but they had a brand of cigar. It was kind of a no-name brand. It wasn't a major name brand, but I would go to the cigar shop and I would buy them, and they came in a glass container with a rubber lid with a clasp on it, so it was airtight, and they were unwrapped and they were sitting straight down. And their deal was they were done the same thing. I don't know what you call it, fermented or aged in a whiskey, a famous brand whiskey. And I loved them because they were smooth, but they went out of business. They just quit making them. I don't know what happened because I couldn't find them anymore. Well, over the years, I have looked for another cigar that was done the same way. Could never find one, but I happened to be here, and I was a beneficiary of being in the right place at the right time, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But I was at the right place at the right time when you were having a little event here, when you were unveiling the cigars, and I got to smoke one. And I was like, this is reminiscent of that old cigar that I had. So very good. And again, not that you have to be into cigars and whiskey to enjoy the Standard. You should come to the Standard anyway. But here at the Standard, we get to enjoy stuff like that and get to enjoy new brands, new whiskeys, new cigars, and I'm proud to hear that you're doing this because this is cool.
We love these, and they've gotten really, really popular now. So I guess it's something that we'll see. A business starts another business, right?
That's right. Well, let's talk about success. So I want you to do something for me. I ask this to every guest, and this is the Root of All Success podcast. So what I try to do is to dig into how you grow these incredible companies. I mean, you've started several companies. You've been successful, even though at first you thought, hey, I'm going to quit if I don't make any money, which was all of us. Like I had a timeline on my first company, gave myself about 6 months, and I survived just like you survived. We made it. So you've been very successful in all these ways. So in your own words, what does success mean to you?
Man, it's a great question. And I think it's an answer that grows. You know what I mean? What success was to me when I was 21 is different than 32 and now at 42. Success to me is being able to take care of your family, being able to afford your lifestyle, and being able to help others realize what they're going to do to do that same thing.
So with that in mind, are you successful?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I
Oh,
love
yeah.
it. I
Oh,
love it
yeah.
when people
Oh,
answer
yeah.
that with yes.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah, I'm successful.
Oh yeah, man. Like I am blessed. You know what I mean? But I'm blessed successful.
What's that? Say that again.
Blessed successful.
Blessed successful.
Blessed
That's a new
successful.
word.
You know, blessed successful. But you know, you start to look at like succession has really been on my mind in the last year. You know what I mean? Because we can build all of these things, and when you're on the front of it, you're just looking forward because you got to break down barriers, you got to get the job done, you got to get this, you got to grow, man. But when you start thinking about who you're gonna hand that baton to after you've run that crazy race, is that the end of the race, or is it a marathon now or a relay, and you're passing the baton on to somebody else? And I've been really thinking about that a lot.
Huh. Well, I think that's a smart thing to think about. And I think so many entrepreneurs start with no concept of how do I exit this thing. Like an exit doesn't have to be like there's the way I teach in Results University in my courses about entrepreneurialism. I teach about there's different ways to exit a business. You can exit physically, but not financially. Like you're just not there anymore, but you still make all the money. You still own the company. Then you can exit financially, but you're still there physically, right? They pay you a big sum of money. You still stay on as a chief executive, something or another. Or you could exit physically and financially where you just walk away. And that's what most people think when you think of exit. But there are so many nuances to either of those three options. And what I find is that most entrepreneurs, when they start, don't think about that. They're like, hey, I'm creating a job, dude. I got to pay my mortgage. Yep. Just like you, when you started your first company, Justco, right? Mm-hmm. So when you started that, it's like, hey, I just need to make money. I need to survive. But at some point, you got to back up and go, wait a minute. I didn't want to just survive. There's more to this. And now I got to think about, does this go to the next generation of Ridgels, or do I sell it to an equity, private equity company? Do I sell it to venture capital? Do I sell it on the open market? Or close it? What do I do? So most entrepreneurs don't think about that. And I think if we all, like you've been in business for over 10 years, right? In your first business. Yeah. So you think 10 years ago, if you knew what you knew, if you know then what you know now, you'd have probably done things a little bit different and setting it up. A
lot different. Not a little. That's a modest little bit. Yeah. No, I would have, as far as the setup of the businesses, I would have did totally different. All of my stuff, it was sole prop. Mm. You know what I mean? Everything.
Complete liability on you.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Thank God we didn't go through anything crazy. But yeah, I was a sitting duck for a long time, even down to paying your taxes and doing your books and that, like the business of the business. So most people, they think starting a business is being good at having a talent, right? I'm good at this. So, and that was actually me in medical equipment. I was really good at selling it. I was really good at getting people to understand that they needed it and how they were going to use it. I was great at that. So I thought that was the business. Well, the thing that kicked me in the butt was like, once you start your own, you're responsible for every nuance in that business. So I wasn't having to order equipment when I was selling it. I was just selling it. I wasn't having to do the accounting when I was selling it. I was just selling it. You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't having to do contracts. I wasn't having to do credentials. I wasn't having to do any of that stuff. I was just selling. So you have to be careful sometimes that when you run out there, you might have one niche of the business that you're good at, but you're gonna need to get some education in those other parts.
I remember the one of the first huge contracts I won when I started my company 11 years ago. When I won that contract, it turned out to be a $2.3 million contract. So it wasn't they won, but it turned out to be a $2.3 million contract. Well, when I won that, all right, that was one of the largest projects of that type ever in the history of the world. I was just a good sales guy. I'm like you, like I knew how to sell it, but I'm like, okay, now we got to execute. Now I got to do this. And I remember this is the thing that I know some entrepreneurs listen to this, and I know you know what I'm talking about. It's like, all right, I had to order from a vendor $1 million worth of product. Yeah. A million. And one order, I became their biggest customer. But I had a customer, right? But there's this money problem. Like, who's going to let go of the dollar first? Is it me? Well, I don't have $1 million. Is it my vendor going to let go of $1 million worth of product? without having my money? And I'm an unknown entity. Is it my customer who's going to write a check to me? And, he thinks I'm something that maybe I'm not yet. Yeah. So I remember sitting down with a banker and thinking, okay, how do I do this? Like, how do we set up this escrow fund where everybody's protected? Like, I'll take the money from the customer and I'll put it in the bank and I won't touch it. And then the vendor, I mean, that's stuff that people don't think about. Like, listen, you started your company and you made it happen. You became successful. You did it. You did those things and you started multiple companies. Not only that, you got nonprofits going. So let's dig in on these. I've got this theory, and I talk about this on my podcast, this 5 P's of success. Like every successful entrepreneur that I sit across the table with, I have a glass of whiskey with, or I have dinner with, and I interview them casually or formally, and I say, hey, tell me how you got to success. Jason, I'm telling you, every single time, these 5 things show, every time. And here's the way they start. It starts with passion. The first P is passion. And there's 2 sides of passion. There's the emotional side of passion. I'm excited about it, like joy, fulfillment. But then there's the mental state. And the mental state of passion, if you look at the word, the passion, it comes from a word that means willing to suffer, willing to endure. And so you know what I'm talking about when you hear the passion of the Christ, like when we talk about when Jesus went to the cross, that's called the passion of the Christ. Well, most people, even me, who was a pastor for 13 years, have a bachelor's degree in ministry, I knew that's what it was called, but I had no idea why. Well, it only occurred to me 2 years ago that the word passion actually means willing to suffer. That's why it's called the passion of the Christ. So for you and me as successful entrepreneurs and the people listening, where did passion show up in your story to lead you to success?
It was the beginning. And it's funny you say that because we talk about entrepreneurship so much. I always joke and tell people, like, when I started my company, my first one, which was that cleaning franchise, I didn't even know what entrepreneur meant. I didn't know that was a word. I had no idea. What I knew is
didn't know how to spell it for sure.
Right. Didn't know how to spell it. All I knew is that I had 2 kids and I needed to make more money than I was making. And my passion was that. Like, my passion was taking care of my family. So I'm going to go and work for 3 companies at the same time. Like it's nuts. Like, a lot of times people will say, you hear people talk about how they don't want to work for anybody. It seems to be the thing of this newer generation is like, I don't want to work for anybody. I don't want to work for anybody. Well, if you never work for anybody, how are you going to know when I went and worked for 3 companies, I got paid to learn how to start my own business.
Yeah.
That's basically, I was on a paid internship. And yeah, it was my kids. Like, when you said passion, the first thing I thought, I was like, man, I can see my boys in my face right now, and I'm like, I gotta do something. I got to, and this has to work.
So three jobs. So we're more alike than just our names, man. Our names, because when my daughter was born, she's 18. When my daughter was born, I was working 3 jobs. And we were living in our little rental house, 2 bedroom, 1 bath between 2 junkyards, man. I'm not kidding. Like, that was our life. And today, 18 years later, life's a little different. I don't live between junkyards. I got more than 1 bathroom. But it's not because I have some special gift, although I feel like the Father, God, has gifted me in certain ways, and as he does with you. But for me, I think it started with passion, just like you. I was willing to suffer. When I started my company, man, I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea. I didn't know anything about lighting. I didn't know anything about electrical work. I didn't know anything. I knew how to sell, just kind of probably like you. Yeah. And so for my willingness to suffer and endure those first 6 months to a year, it's like, okay, I'll make this happen, man. If I got to mow yards at nights and weekends, I'll do it. If I got to manage a car wash, and I did. I managed a car wash. I was selling insurance. I was preaching at a little retirement home. Like, I was doing whatever I could to make money. Listen, I'm not kidding. You lived it too. So I think passion's not the first step, and I think that nobody gets to success without it. And if you don't have it, and you're in a business or industry, you're trying to start a business without it, you just need to give up, man. Not give up totally, but like, that thing probably needs to be put aside. Go do something else.
It's not going to carry you.
It is
because there's nothing to carry you. Let me ask you this: when you were doing all those things from those 3 jobs, do you ever come across people that knew you from that time in your life? like customers or something that used to mow their grass, and they're like,
No, you know what's funny is that my life has moved in a different geographical direction. So I'm not like I don't run across those people, but everyone, and I'm not on Facebook, which is a good thing. But those people from my past that would have known me from back in the day don't really see it. And so I guess if you stumbled across my LinkedIn page or my Instagram page, you'd probably go, "What?
yeah,
That guy was managing the car wash."
that's crazy. Yeah, because that's the same. I get it all the time. Like back from massage therapy, you know what I mean? They're like, "This is the guy."
Hey, have you seen the movie? Have you seen the movie War Dogs?
Of course,
Yeah, that cute.
Yeah.
So if you guys haven't seen the movie, I just watched it this past weekend on Netflix. But Jonah Hill is the other. There's two main characters. The massage therapist guy. I don't know what his name is.
I don't know his name either.
But anyway, he was a massage therapist that went into business with Jonah Hill's character, and it's actually based on a true story. And they ended up winning a $300 million contract,
just like what we were talking about right after.
And they're like,
Day.
"Okay, we won it. Now what do we do?" I love that movie only because of the entrepreneurial callbacks. That it's like I remember all the problems those guys were dealing with. Of course, they're dealing with, Afghanistan thugs and monsters and being thrown in the trunk of a car. Oh, thank God I never had to
Get that much, but you remember to pay your contractors.
That's right. And let me tell you, that's what brings a lot of entrepreneurs down is the small stuff. You mentioned bookkeeping and accounting.
Yep.
Like when I coach entrepreneurs and in my university courses, I teach the two must-haves for starting any business. You got to have a business coach and you got to have a bookkeeper.
That's so good.
Like
That's so good.
You got to have a coach and a bookkeeper. If you don't, man, I mean, you might make it. Like I made it without them, but dude, I would have lots more zeros on my net worth had I done that.
And you clean it up. And when you finally get with somebody good, they're going to spend the first amount of your dollars cleaning up the mess that you made over that time. Because I would have loved to have a bookkeeper in the beginning. Only also to teach you how to grow and the things that you're going to need later on when you want to get capital. You know what I mean? Maybe when you decide you want to buy a building instead of renting, like all these different things. If you got a good bookkeeper and accountant and business coach from the jump, they're going to be setting you up for those things in the beginning.
Yeah, I know on the audio version you're not going to be able to see this, but on YouTube, I'll show people like what business owners do and entrepreneurs. They're looking at their business like this. And so for those of you listening, I'll describe what I'm doing. I've got both my hands on either side of my eyeballs, and I'm looking through kind of like a little tunnel. That's how all entrepreneurs look at their business. And there's no way you can't. That is a psychological phenomenon. You cannot see anything but through that tunnel because it's your business. You're connected emotionally, psychologically, financially. Everything is connected. What you have to have is a business coach, because what a business coach does is they open it up to 180 degrees. So now they can see things you can't see. And that's why you need a business coach. So for those that were listening, I took my hands from the tunnel and I moved them out to the side of my head. And now I can see the whole room. I've got peripheral vision. And that's what a business coach will do for you. And so wherever you get them, you need to get one. Now, you might get one that sucks, and that's
part of it too. That's part of it too.
But you got to go through the bad before you get to the good. But a business coach and an accountant. So we talked about, Jason, passion being the first key to success. So the second key that I find in all stories, and I want to see if this is true in your story, is right place at the right time. Like there's always this story. Like I was at the Standard. I was at the Standard Club and I met this guy and this one thing happened only because I was there. So is there a key in your success where you can point to a place, right time? And you're like, that was it.
Oh, I can tell you just that even get into the medical equipment game was the right place at the right time. I was marketing director for that healthcare facility out in Encino, California. And one day a guy walks in and he's also a doctor and he says, "Hey, I'm here to see your doctor." We're talking to him, doing a medical equipment presentation for him. I was like, all right, I'm the marketing director, so whatever you bring through here, I'm the one that's going to really be doing the explaining. So tell me what you got. So he told me what they had. He told me about TENS units, told me about bracing, and just how all these things were helping people not use opioids to get rid of pain. I was like, you know what? I love it. Obviously, this is a market. It's a setup for bigger things, but there's some type of pay scale here. What does that look like? He explained it to me, and I was just like, great. What's my cut? And he was like, what? I said, yeah, I'm really the one that's going to be doing all this stuff you just talked about. And so, what's in it for me? And he was like, nothing. He said, I can get your doctor without you. And I was like, all right, cool. So introduced him to the doctor, and it was the funniest conversation. They talked for about 45 minutes, and you hear my doctor say, you know what? I love it. It's great. Go out there, talk to Jason. If he likes it, we're going to do it. Uh-oh. So when the guy comes out, I'm standing there. I'm just putting papers away because I know it's coming. And he goes, what do you want? So we get a nice little number to just prove it, right? And start from there. That started me. I would have never been in the medical equipment game if I hadn't done that. If I wasn't at the office at that time, I would have missed that whole opportunity. But, God's always on the throne. You know what he's doing. So from there, we marketed it for a year. We tripled the office numbers and the numbers of the DME company that we were working with.
Wow. So right place, right time. And so for those of you that are listening, I want to tell you, you're never going to know where the right place is or the right time. You've got to put yourselves in those places. Like you showed up for work that day. That for you was, you didn't know that was right place, right time. But if you just stayed home and said, I'm going to work, you missed the rest of your life because you made a decision.
But you also have to not be afraid to ask what's in it for you. And a lot of times people don't do that. And sometimes it's a mental, like you're not always in a position to say to someone, hey, what's in it for me? But you should always be evaluating that with everything, with relationships, you know what I mean? With business decision, what's in it? Is this going to grow me? Is this going to be a negative for me? Like is this going to leave more baggage, or is this going to lead to other opportunities? There's a lot, man. I remember giving almost 80 free massages to get my client, to get my client base up. So what is it for me was to grow my portfolio. Or I could have went a whole different way and said, you know what, nope, I charge $100 an hour. And if I only get one client at that, I'll be getting my price. Well, your kids can't drink that ego. So you're going to get your butt out there and do what you got to do.
Kids can't drink your ego.
But you see what I mean?
I love it.
So, but that's the thing. But I think evaluating, like, what does this mean to you? Because you're going to do you should be doing your best with whatever you're giving.
Sure.
I knew what we were going to do with the opportunity. So.
All right. So we got passion and we got being right place, right time. The third P is people, knowing the right people. So everybody has got a story. Now, what's cool about this right people, knowing the right people as a key to success is that sometimes, and most of the time actually, we think about in terms of this right person is a positive thing. Like, I need a guy to give me money, or I need a guy to give me an idea. Sometimes it's somebody that pisses you off so bad that pushes you, and that guy ended up being the right person, but it wasn't the way you thought.
Or somebody that told you no.
Yeah, somebody told you no. Okay, well, I'm going to do it anyway, right? So can you look at your life of success as an entrepreneur and as a business owner and as a whiskey proprietor? Like, what person or persons can you look back to and say, these were the right people, the right people for me?
Man, number one, I'd be remiss not to say my mom. You know what I mean? Like that is somebody that has held the vision for all of this stuff. I feel like, I come to her with a dream and she says, go follow the dream. And then she'll work with me in the dream, she was my office manager for my medical company for a long time. And then when the dream falls short, she's the one to say, hey, get your butt up and love on you. So my mom being that right person at the right time is my number one. But then also for the whiskey, man, when I decided to do that whiskey, I had a friend that was a wine broker that I had known since high school. And she was the only person, when I thought about just jumping into the spirits industry, she was the only person that I knew that I could call that had any type of experience in it. And she was actually, her name is Stacy Thomas, and she's actually the one who helped me find the small distillery that was willing to work with me in the beginning. Wow. So people / relationships, man, always tap in with your people. We have so many people that are our friends that are doing so many amazing things. Until I got on LinkedIn, guess what? I didn't even know what my friends did. When I got on LinkedIn, I spent like 3 hours one time just looking at, and I'm like, is that Pookie? You're the director of finance and this JJ? What? And my heart was filling up. I was like, oh my God, my friends are so successful and gone out into the world, and these are your easy yeses. These are your easy yeses. You connect with people that you love. So always be nice to people because you never know where they're going to end up. But tap into your circle, man. Your friends are probably doing amazing things, but you've been too busy. With those blinders on to even open up and see that people around you can help you to the top.
So is mom still with us?
Oh, mom is still with us.
Where's mom live?
Alabama.
Alabama.
Hermit, roll tide.
No, we do not allow roll tide on this podcast. All right, so you got Stacy Thomas?
Stacy Thomas.
Stacy Thomas and mom are two people. So we talked about passion, we talked about place, right place, right time. We talked about the people. So the fourth P that I kind of see happen in everybody's stories, and I want to see if it happened in your stories, is what I call preparation. And so preparation means the know-how to pull it off. Like, for example, you knew how to sell when you started that first company. That was a preparation for you. For me, same thing. I knew how to sell. I didn't know a thing about the industry. I didn't know a thing about the technology, but I knew how to sell. So besides the ability to sell, is there more layers to the preparation that you had that made you successful in whiskey or Hydrate the Hood or medical equipment? I mean, what preparation did you have that led to success?
Imagination.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, man. So I grew up in Auburn, Alabama, right? Small town. But growing up in that super small town, man, I used to dream big. So I saw life before it happened. I used to take a tennis ball and hit it up against my grandma's garage and pretend I was at Wimbledon. She had a slanted roof so I could throw a baseball on the top, and I'd run and do these, jumps and say, it was imagination. And in any of the businesses that I've done or that I do, there's always outside the box. There's always outside the box because I can see it almost before it happens. Like a lot of stuff, if you start to look at my brands, they're based on pop culture and movies and things like that. Like, I used to have, you watch Billions?
Mm-mm.
You don't watch Billions?
No, I don't even know what it is.
Man, it's a show on Showtime. And it is so good. Like, it talks about like capital from all the way from the top to the bottom. Shows you everything on both sides. It's
Billions.
Yeah, Billions. It's crazy. But the lead character, one of the lead characters is Bobby Axelrod. So I had Axe Medical at one point in time. And I make up names from movies, and it really actually, when you're doing this hard work, it actually gives you a way to keep it fun. And you always think of different ways to do stuff. So then, the way that we became successful with the medical equipment, we used to go to companies in LA and say, hey, we're going to give you free massage, a massage day for all of your employees on a Friday. It's sponsored by this chiropractor. And they would say, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, we no problem. He would sponsor the massage. We would go in. Everyone that got up off the table, we'd offer them a free consultation to the office. And we'd sign them up for a TENS unit or a back brace.
There you go.
Crazy, right? We were linking everything that we normally, that's imagination. While everyone else is doing it one way, we were going out into the world doing huge conventions of just medical equipment for pain management. Nobody ever knows that. There's no picture. There's probably some pictures and stuff, but this was before Facebook and all that stuff. But we took something that was meant to be in the office and we took it out to you. No doctors were going out in the community, the offices doing anything. They were trying to get you to come to their office.
Wow. So you actually went right into the fifth P, which is plan. And what I mean by plan is not necessarily business plan, because you could have a successful business without ever having a written business plan, but a plan to obtain and deploy capital resources. So you had your plan in that instance was, here's the deal. We got human capital. We got people that can give massages. So we're going to deploy that and we're going to give these massages. And while we've got a captive audience, we're going to say, hey, by the way, can we give you a free consultation? So there's your plan, right? Am I wrong, or is that the plan?
That's exactly what it was, and it was so simple. The doctor loved it. The patients loved it, right? Because they just got a free massage, and now a chiropractor's going to see me for free. And I think we had already verified that their company insurance would cover their visits. So basically we just came and told you, look, here's a massage, here's a free consultation. And by the way, if you want to go with it, all you're going to pay is like your copay. Wow.
Well, I love it, man. I want people to connect with you. I think that if we see your story, we see a story of a guy that at 23 kind of starts a business and then figures things out, doesn't figure things out, fails, succeeds, but in the end, you got several successful businesses, one of which I'm most excited about is the Guidance Whiskey. You got that going for you, and that's going to blow up. I mean, I know it probably hasn't escaped your attention that there have been several major alcohol brands in the last couple of years that sold for like $1 billion.
Was that the number?
So let's finish up our conversation by telling people, like, what do you want to offer people that are listening that want to get in touch with you? Do they want to get in touch with your brands? I mean, how can they get in touch with you and make meaningful contact in a way that helps them get where they want to go?
Yeah, man. Look, so first of all, with the spirits industry, if you're looking to get in the spirits industry, you got questions about it, you can hit us up at info@guidance.world. Send us whatever. We'll send it. We actually, since we started getting so many emails and questions about stuff, we've designed a questionnaire that we'll send out that has, I think about 20 easy questions on it just to help us get to know you. And then I'll actually give you a call after that, because my goal is to help as many people get into this industry as I can.
So if you're out there listening and you're in the spirit, you have a desire to get into the spirits industry, you got to first check yourself at passion. Make sure you got passion.
Please.
If you don't have passion, do not bother him.
At all.
If you got passion, he could be the right place, right time, and the right person for you. He could help you out. So make sure you get in touch with that. info@guidance.world. Guidance.world. So info@guidance.world. Now you can follow him on Instagram at the best Jason in the world. The best Jason in the world. Or Guidance also has Instagram, which is
Guidance Whiskey.
Guidance Whiskey, and it's whiskey with the
E.
Y.
Yeah, there
EY.
you go.
Don't leave the EY off there. Guidance
Please
Whiskey,
don't.
the EY. So, all right. So anything else you want to leave? Like if you were talking to an entrepreneur, green behind the ears, wet behind the ears, whatever you want to call it, about to start something. It doesn't matter what it is, massage business, spirits business, medical, it doesn't matter what it is. What do you tell them?
I tell them that they need to hit Jason Duncan up and get that university going, because you got a resource now that I didn't have. And that's exactly what I would tell them.
Well, let me tell you, folks, I did not tell them to say that, but I will accept it. Go to resultsuniversity.org.
Yeah, because that's your first business manager, man. For real, I would say you gotta study. You gotta study. You can't just, the passion is something, the desire is one thing, but having some type of know-how will change the whole game for you.
Well, Jason, I can't say how much I appreciate you being here, man. This has been great, getting to sip a little of your whiskey, smoke on one of your cigars, getting to hear a little bit more of your story, because I know we see each other occasionally here at the club, hang out, but we don't really get this deep on some stuff. So thank you for opening up a little bit, telling me a little about your story. Tell your mom hello, and thank her for me for getting you so that we get to sit at this table today, because without her, and Stacy Thomas, shout out to Stacy Thomas, wherever she is in the world. Thank you for what you did to being the right person at the right time for him. But I want to speak to everybody watching on YouTube, listening on the podcast players. If you want to know about your probability of success, whatever you're trying to do, I have designed an assessment called the 5 Ps of Success Assessment. It's completely free. You can go to therealjasonduncan.com/success. That's therealjasonduncan.com/success. And you can download an infographic that kind of shows you the 5 Ps that I've talked about with Jason today. But there's an assessment that you can sign up for. And once you sign up for the assessment, we send it out. And I can't remember how many questions. There's only 10 or 15 questions that goes through, and it'll actually give you a personalized report on your probability of success. Now, obviously, I can't predict whether or not you're going to be successful, but I can look at these 5 Ps. And if you rate really low on passion, one of the things we're going to recommend is probably need to find another thing. Like if you're not passionate about the spirits industry and you're trying to get in the spirits industry, that's a disaster waiting to happen. So we'll make recommendations for you, and we'll go through those 5 Ps. And then, of course, beyond that, if you want to be introduced to one of our certified RTI coaches, we can work with you on that. But that certainly is not an obligation. You can do the assessment completely for free. We won't hound you about that. So go to therealjasonduncan.com/success. If you want to follow me on Instagram, I'm at the Real Jason Duncan. He's the best Jason in the world. I'm the Real Jason Duncan, and you can also follow me on LinkedIn. Same thing, at the Real Jason Duncan. Just search for me on there on LinkedIn. So there you have it, folks. My theory about these 5 Ps of success showing up in everybody's story still stands true. Next episode, we're going to talk with yet another very successful entrepreneur on how he or she built their companies and how, what was it that got them to be the success that they are today. So I'll see you on the next episode. And once again, thanks to the Standard for letting us be here. And until then, remember, Jesus is King.
Thank you for listening to another edition of The Root of All Success with the Real Jason Duncan. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, we invite you to visit therootofallsuccess.com to access the show notes and other helpful resources. Take charge of your business. Grow it from great to incredible. Join us again next time here on The Root of All Success.